Lausanne Street, Geneva 65. At the initiative of Dr. Fanon Vincent, expert bank on the Blue File. The question is to find out the adequate way to develop Africa. Some talented spirits are worried about the lack of development middle executives. This should establish a coherent and successful link between focus of conception and rural populations. Very often narrow-minded and resigned to their fate. In order to bridge the gap, an organization aiming at promoting the development of the continent by its own sons is set. How did the Blue Dream started in February 28, 1964 progressively come to be? So far, how satisfactory is the process? Full and unequivocal satisfaction, Pan-African strength and devotion. Up to now, around 40,000 development executives are trained and dedicate themselves to helping the communities all over the continent. The operational competences concern, among other fields, sustainable development, social and community economy, projects and development programs management, regional integration development, local planning and land development, geographical system of information. Africa also owes this blooming to a trinity of good-thinking souls who expect the continent to be developed by and for its sons. The Founding Fathers' vision.
This is the idea. We decided to create an international association based in Geneva because we were not able to find a legal framework in Africa to recognize our institution, and we developed the project of École de Cadre, which is a school, a college. The first college was in Douala and the second, English-speaking, in Bouéla.
The talented 10th in charge to take over the colony is trained abroad, very far away from the continent, namely in Europe and America. As well, canons conceived in the mother country govern the opening of local high schools and consequently influence the local managers to be. It is sure that the continent's future relies on well-skilled executives. Unfortunately, they are very often disconnected from local realities. Moreover, the uncommunicability between these extra elites and field actors lead to negative consequences. Determined to change the disgusting state of affairs, the Founding Fathers felt urgent to materialize an incubator of authentic development. The mission assigned to the newly created Douala Management School is to train intermediate profiles, apt to communicate, inspire, and impulse the principle of development among local communities. So doing, the middle executives expected to promote development, will consequently be trained to transform both nature and environment, making them exploitable and livable. Training such managers is a strategy respecting vertical and horizontal working exigencies. This means mastering the general orientations from the engineering pole focus and coaching the field operators in executing and following up the projects.
We are in 1962 in Cameroon, in an international meeting, and we were discussing together with the Archbishop Jean Zoa and my friend Robert Vautrin from the ILO in Geneva, and former Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General of the Christian Trade Unions. And we were discussing the problem of the gap between the top-level staff in development in Africa and the grassroots. And we were in 1965. A lot of people, Africans, had been trained in Belgium, in the US, in UK, in France, in Switzerland, and were back to Africa. And automatically, of course, the government gave them the principal job, the principal responsibility as director or minister of their country. But in between them and the grassroots, nobody were there. And the idea of the creation of a training institution is to fulfill this gap between the high-level trained Africans and the existing animators who are on the field.
The selected training approach is materialized in a tri-dimensional project which deals with the culture of development and, as such, integrates training, investigating, and field coaching. Classical training perpetuates a whole philosophy. For the paid, the African is a full human being who faces important challenges for his well-being. In specified time and local circumstance, thinking is not a transmittable function. In the same spirit, development is not a concept that can be imported or transferred from a place to another. According to the circumstances, in order to target the community's full blooming. Beyond man, paid makes us witness the creation of the most adequate frame to host the dialectical development of the continent. Through the brilliant PAID project, we pay the right due to the Pan-African sacred values. The generous vision is deeply incrusted in an African deep preoccupation. That is the aspiration to the global and true development of the continent. Thanks to its natural gifts, Cameroon features and summarizes the whole continent. For this reason, the country has chosen to host the PAID project.
Our institution has been, first of all, a Pan-African one. Why? Because in 1964, remember that you had people like Nkrumah, who is the man of the Pan-Africanism from Ghana. Nyerere from Tanzania with the human development and the Pan-African orientation. Senghor and others. For us also, the answer of development in Africa, it's not a national one, it was a regional, and it's why we train people not only from one country, but for all countries.
The good fortune. Thanks to Mr. Paul Biya's personal implication, was Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education and a distinguished member of the Council of Studies, but configuration of the actual PID emerged progressively. Uncountable the correspondences signed of his builder's hand wearing the soul, seal, and total determination to coach the recent organization. To this decisive implication, we owe the settlement agreement with so many countries and partners. Considering all, set up under good circumstances, the PID was destined to brighten future. Nowadays, the complex deploys itself as a true international network. Switzerland, Cameroon, Burkina Faso, Zambia, Morocco.
The Pan-African Institute for Development International Association, as it's popularly known, has been around for 50 years. And we're here to express our deep gratitude to our donors, to our supporters, primarily the Republic of Cameroon, under the leadership of President Paul Biya, who himself has been a pivot of the institution. He had been a member of the Scientific Commission when he was Secretary General in the Ministry of Education in the 60s. That's as soon as Pan-African Institute for Development was created, he took interest in it and became a member. That's in his personal capacity. In his official capacity, he has stood firmly behind this institution. And want to say that the revamping of the institution is thanks to him. It's thanks to this one person who stood firmly behind us, gave money to run the institution even when the structures were falling apart. He created a mission, a structure himself, and sent someone to take care of the Pan-African Institute. And this person held the fort until funds were arranged and provided again by the government of Cameroon to form and create the governing council once more. That is after several years. We really cannot be grateful enough.
As for the institutional governance, the coordination is due to a mechanism inspired once more by the founding fathers. Being the best center to promote a concerted, decent, and sustainable development of the African continent, gathering all the countries and all the human beings without considering race, nationalities, origins, and beliefs. Then it is understandable that democratic management fights for a bright future. The Secretary General heads the organization. Dr. Fanon Vincent pioneered its rule from 1964 to 1980. Professor Joseph Ewuze from Ghana came next from 1980 to 1983. Then Professor Alfred Monjananyi from Benin from 1984 to 1993. Faya Kondiak succeeded him from 1996 to 2000. And since 2011, Professor Emmanuel Camden from Cameroon leads the organization.
The governance of PID is done through the governing organization, which are the collective of members, and the governing council and executive committee. That's the organs who govern PID. They are the ones deciding, controlling activities. And those governing units control the executive unit that I have the honor and the difficulty to serve. that is the Secretariat General with the regional directors. This unit work under real transparency in such a way that first, it is controlled regularly by the executive committee and by the governing council on one side. And on the other side, we have the internal auditors and external auditor who control every time, and the external donors as well.
We are from the Gambia.
I am Bridget Oya Kamara. I am a Sierra Leonean.
My name is Jojo Uswansan from Ghana.
My name is Babatunde Ajagbe. I am from Nigeria.
Paid institution or imposing stature and ultramodern. Well equipped with state-of-the-art commodities. Above all, they all benefit from the entire diplomatic status. Douala was the pioneer center, the African Institute for Development for Central Africa. Is opened in 1965 and settled in Douala 3 modern campus. Right after, the African Institute for Development for West Africa is created in 1969 at Boya and located on the foot of the Cameroon Mountain. Follows the African Institute for Development for West Africa and Sahel, settled in 1977 at Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. Then the African Institute for Development for East and Southern Africa in 1978, settled in Kabwe, Zambia. At last, the African Institute for Development for Northern Africa in 2010 and settled at Saleh, Morocco.
Okay, in PAID we have short-term and long-term training. Long-term training is training at the end of which we issue academic degrees like bachelor, master, and very soon PhD in applied sciences. We are complementary to classical university in such a way that, as I told you before, our training is through applied science, action research. And then the short-term training is training that provide capacity, that make capacity building for the people already working who need some improvement in order to be more performant. And that training is short-term. It can be 1 week, it can be 2 weeks, it can be 1 month. It depends. And then our training can be in campus or through e-learning. We train in management, in development, in human resource development, in social economy, in statistics for the development, in geography for development, in sociology for development, and anthropology development, and so on. So all subjects that conduct to the development are what we teach in PAID. Our training are in order to push Africa, to boost Africa to become, why not, the leader continent in very few years.
The PAID campus serves as theaters. Meanwhile, its valuation and know-how are required and even implicated in training decentralized collectivities on local governance. Hasn't it been the PAID? Could be the only theories conceived abroad provide the continent with required profiles to boost the development? It is for all of us a memory duty. Graduating from PAID is not a mere issue of school attendance, since the system is totally oriented towards creating development. For instance, the bachelor degree essentially puts together theory and practice in a coherent perspective but training must lead to investigating for concrete implementation. In fact, for the 2 first years, participants discover and master the rural environment. Settling in the rural area for a learning immersion, the participant lives daily realities and contradictions. At the end of the learning cycle, it won't be a classical graduated feed up with ex-cathedra courses.
We train people who will be able to be active by providing them with skills who will enable them to contribute for the decent, concerted and sustainable development of the African continent. And then now proactive, because they will have to think before. They have the possibility, they should be in the position to think for the future of Africa. As you know, Africa is becoming one of the very important continents worldwide. Therefore, we need staff who can think in advance. That is what we call proactive training philosophy. And another one is that we bring students from different countries for the integration of Africa. Because when you have people coming from different continents, from different countries in Africa, you build people who will be working together, coming from different countries in Africa. That's what our philosophy, training people coming from different areas, training people for the field work, and then training people combining classroom work and field work. That is our philosophy for the training.
Globalization simply means
All paid campuses witness high-tech interactive teaching experiences, governed by the nationalist and Pan-African spirit. Students and learners come from mature social classes. They all know how pertinent and important the objectives, contents, and training approaches are.
First, we are going to build our headquarters in Yaoundé, close to the presidency of the Republic of Ghana, because we have been granted a land there. We are going to introduce the PhD program next year. We also will divide paid ESA in two, because currently it's covering 2 regions, southern region and eastern region, and we will make it be 2 regional paid. At the same time, we are going to open an international center for decent, concerted and sustainable development in Yaoundé in order to ensure the promotion of innovation and development in Africa. That one will be the center where different, very high qualified experts will come together, think about the development of Africa, and then produce guidelines for the concerted development of Africa.
Good luck or grace? Africa, African. Do listen the voice who, 50 years sooner, took an engagement that still holds the road.
We should be the #1 in training for development in Africa. #1 means not only in terms of quality of our training, but also in orientation. The model of development that we have to develop, it's not an academic. We have not to train economics, finance. What we have to train is people who are able to live and find solutions with the grassroots people. What we need is individuals, persons, who are really involved in their life and living a lot of values which we know and which will give the possibility to the institution and our paid to be really close to the grassroots people. Unemployment, for example, is a big issue. A lot of youth are leaving Africa to come in Europe. We should really work out a project of development project. We will be able to train leaders to train these young people to have their own enterprise in their own country. The problem now is to go ahead and to have a little more ambitious. We should be ambitious for Africa, to bring Africa in the concert of the nation and to give her the possibility to fulfill his place at the right place.
The Pan-African Institute for Development, 50 years of pledge, standing by African communities, for and targeting a concerted, decent, sustainable development.